Hello, friends, supporters, and patriots. Welcome back. I have another deep dig for you. This one is specifically about sentient goo and nanobots I believe you will willingly allow to be injected in you. That being said, I want to remind you to visit my website for gold and silver because everybody should be stacking, and if you don't know why, you're welcome to go check the website out and then email me. The website is www.7kmetals.com and my email is ladyliberty@countermail.com. All right, let's get into this. Imagine for a moment, with all the new information we are receiving about the dangers of vaccines and unknown injection materials, that a new vaccine would come on the scene and that the majority of people would flock to, ask for, willingly and happily allow for themselves and their children. Perhaps you're thinking that's impossible, and there's no vaccine you would ever allow for you or your children. Or maybe you're thinking, yeah, there are a few I might consider. Well, if you're like me, you're heavily wary of vaccines, the materials they're constructed of, and the intentions of those pushing them. More and more people are becoming awake to the dangers of vaccinations, and this is bad news for the pharmaceutical industry, as well as the New World Order. They've not stopped with their endeavors to continue this project of vaccines, and I am here to tell you that I believe they may have come up with a way that most people would not only allow this new vaccine under certain circumstances, they would happily and readily welcome it. Let's go back in time, beginning in 1958, when an alien life form consumes everything in its path as it grows and grows. It is a large, gray goo, specifically consuming humans, and it was called the Blob. Also in 1958, a movie called The Brain Eaters came out with a more honest storyline as follows. Strange things are happening in Riverdale, Illinois. A huge, seemingly alien structure has been found jutting out of the earth. Sent to investigate the origin of the mysterious object, Senator Walter Powers discovers that parasites from the center of the earth have infiltrated the town, taking control of authorities and workers, making communication with the outside world impossible, and leaving the responsibility of stopping the invasion up to Powers and a small group of free individuals. Later in 1978, we had the invasion of the body snatchers, where when seeds drift to Earth from space, mysterious pods begin to grow and invade a small town, replicating the residents' bodies one at a time. Quote, in San Francisco, Public Health Inspector Matthew Bennell is intrigued when a co-worker and good friend, Elizabeth Driscoll, tells him that her husband has suddenly changed. He suggests they speak to his friend, psychiatrist David Kibner, which is in fact Leonard Nimoy, who confirms that several of his patients are claiming that their husbands or wives are not who they seem to be. He puts it down to mass hysteria until two other of Matthew's friends, Jack and Nancy Belichick, discover a partly formed corpse. They soon discover that humans are being replaced with exact copies who are emotionless and are moving forward, apparently unstoppable, in their quest to replace everyone. End quote. Leonard Nimoy's character at one point in the movie responds to Elizabeth after she declares her hatred for him with, "We don't hate you. There is no need for hate now, nor of love." Clearly, we now see the hive mind mentality that I've talked about in my previous videos, specifically quantum computers, angels and demons, gods and monsters. In these movies, the source is always from an aggressive alien species and are clearly terrifying to humanity, seemingly to be something of a warning. Today, this is not what we see anymore. Anymore, what we see is a humanizing of these alien, mind-controlling takeovers, even making them likable and acceptable. For instance, Venom. Quote, Eddie Brock is a famous journalist reporter who follows people who don't want to be followed, as he puts it. He comes across the Life Foundation, and in an attempt to uncover allegations the foundation received, he loses his entire career. 6 months later, he is brought back to the foundation by one of their leading scientists, but in his visit, Eddie comes across an alien known as a symbiote. Venom, the symbiote, chooses to attach and adapt to Eddie's body. However, this gets Brock in trouble by Carlton Drake, the leader of the Life Foundation. Eddie/Venom must stop Drake from continuing with his plans of turning the humans into human symbiote. End quote. We see Venom now as a good guy, and he even talks about being a loser on his own planet, which could make us feel sorry for him. We feel badly for Eddie Brock, because anyone who reads or follows the story knows Eddie Brock also has cancer. We can relate to this emotionally, and it is then easy for us to sympathize with Eddie and Venom. Looking back again at AI, which we've been talking about since my video, Who is Q, we have learned a few things together along the way. We know that AI is now using quantum computing and is learning faster than it ever could before. We've looked at the possibilities of AI in the chemtrails and the likelihood we are breathing them in all the time. And we also have learned that there seems to be a fungus-like growth involved with chemtrails, GMOs, possibly vaccines for a few examples. Now, if you recall, I talked previously about Harold Creutzfeldt in my video, The AI That Fell from the Sky. Something Harold and many others have been talking about for years now is the sentient black goo. This black goo, according to Harold, is a type of alien AI, or a quote seed device, end quote, for creating life within a biosphere. This invader does not belong here, hence it is alien, and has been attempting to unpack its program to the deterrent of our natural order. It contains remnants of its original life forms, which have been coaxing the elite into carrying out their plans for earthbound manifestation for as long as we know. Our energies have been used as food, and our environment has been tweaked to make people weak. The plan to get these higher dimensional archonic beings to hook into their human husks is getting closer all the time, and is at the heart of the transhumanist agenda. Recall from the Goat Man of the Boule video that archons means demon, the kind that like to keep hidden. You may recollect also the mention of vampirism in my AI That Fell from the Sky video when Harold had explained the black goo and Morgellons possibly lowering our intelligence and changing our DNA, literally robbing us of our humanity. We see a similar setting now as these movies in which I've just discussed, where we are being introduced to nanobots, sentient entities, AI, mind control, etc. The main differences, however, are how much we've accepted and adapted to this whole idea, and the amount of time it takes before the sentient beings start fully consuming us and stealing our God-given humanity. Instead of coming to Earth and taking over in a day or a week, they have been working tirelessly for thousands of years. If you know me and have watched my previous videos, then you know I do not for a moment believe these are aliens that have evolved from another planet traveling the galaxy. They are nothing more than Satan's minions. We learned together that builders and creators of some of the most technologically advanced computers today want to use them specifically to reach into other dimensions, preferably demonic, for knowledge. It is my opinion that current AI is being set up as a host body to demonic spirits who need and hunger for a body to inhabit. Most people working for AI companies and many scientists helping in the technology are likely ignorant to this. Yet, as we saw with Gordy Rose, they're also not hiding what they're doing by seeking demonologists. With technology and AI, they are able to attempt again to usher in the beast and the Antichrist. Is it possible that these demons have the ability to appear to us, but currently only as the black goo that Harold Creutzfeldt and others describe? Will it be able to morph symbiotically with its AI host without having to consume its spirit and control its mind, as it will have none? And since we are still in the beginning stages of drumming up a proper army, won't the beast and the Antichrist need more willing followers, such as human beings? How would they be able to get the majority of humanity to gladly accept a mind control takeover so as to give up our humanity as host to the devil's armies. It probably won't be as terrifying as the Blob, the Brain Eaters, and the invasion of the Body Snatchers. In fact, it won't be anything like the symbiote ET Venom, who maybe some of us could warm up to and allow to utilize us for its desires. No, it will be something most people will rush to and ask for: the cure for cancer. If you go and internet search the word nanobots, one of the more common articles and videos will be about using nanobot technology to seek out abnormal cancer tumors and cells to finally cure cancer. Many who follow me here are likely of the same belief as I am. There is already a cure for cancer. However, we can admit that most of our friends and family don't believe this to be the case. In fact, a person with cancer or a loved one with cancer will tell you that's not the case at all, because they have been all over the country to specialty hospitals and physicians, and these people care about them, offering the newest and best treatments known. Meanwhile, more and more people are getting cancer, and more people are dying from it. It is also especially uncomfortable to imagine that there could possibly be a cure for cancer, and no one is giving it to innocent children who are suffering and dying from this dreadful disease. So for the moment, let's forget we believe that there is already a cure and put ourselves in the shoes of what we call normies. Let's say we have a child and the child is diagnosed with cancer. It is a terminal diagnosis and our child will die if a cure is not found. And what a miracle! Suddenly nanobots have proven to be the cure. You go to the nearest nanobot cancer treatment center, the child receives an injection of nanobots, and she is cured. She will not die from this horrible and sickening cancer. She will grow up to reach her full human potential, and your emotions toward this cure are very positive. Now, say we have multiple stories like this, and they all begin to occur the same way. Someone's sister was cured of her terminal brain tumor. A father with young children will not die from his pancreatic cancer. A close friend near death is cured of her fatal acute lymphocytic leukemia. After a few years of this wonderful cure, they will come out with a vaccine for all of us. This vaccine will not only cure any current cancer tumors or cells without need for radiation, chemotherapy, or surgery, it will ensure you never get cancer in the future. In other words, it is a preventative vaccine against cancer. Now, whether it is the nanobots curing cancer or another already existing cure, it really doesn't matter. What we would begin to see is that this sort of vaccine would be one that nearly everyone would get on board with. Of course, there will always be those who would say that they would take their chances. But what with all the spraying, the GMOs, the tap water, the previous vaccines we didn't know not to get, the DNA and mind-altering oral medications, and whatever else, we will surely end up with cancer and die from it, were we not to accept this vaccine, and so will our children. Everyone else who accepted the vaccine willingly accepted controlled AI into their systems that could consume the humanity over every person who is injected, and we would become the hive mind people with no emotions, no cares, and no purpose in life that we saw in these earlier science fiction films. Unfortunately, we will not only not be running terrified from it, we will be running toward it with open arms. I cannot impress upon you enough that evil will do anything it can to contaminate us and ultimately own us. It is my current belief that we are already infested with some sort of knockoff attempt at nanobots in our bodies that didn't work the way they'd hoped. Now we are seeing physical and mental unexpected manifestations such as Morgellons fibers, Lyme disease, and all the associated symptoms therein, while many of us actually fought off the growth these beginning prototypes tried to create in us, also unexpectedly. Morgellons is not a psychosis, and in fact, it has in the past been recognized by the CDC, but with no willingness to offer a cure and no understanding of what it really is. And now we have a new fungus in town, although I say new loosely, called C. auris. It is most interesting how the CDC talks about it. Quote, "It is a creature from the Black Lagoon," end quote, said the CDC's Dr. Tom Chiller, who heads the fungal branch. Quote, "It bubbled up and now it is everywhere," end quote. I cannot say for certain that this is a new, old, or different Morgellon-style fungus, but Dr. Joanna Rhodes, who was first introduced to this in 2015, says we are driving this fungal infection with the use of anti-fungicides on crops. Dr. Rhodes is a disease expert at the Imperial College in London. The mere fact that she is pointing to crop dusting as a cause of this fungal infection is a big deal in and of itself. Unfortunately, they're using scare tactics and clamoring that there is no treatment for diseases like this, so you may as well give up on life if you get it. On that note, I want to introduce you to a physician who is currently treating patients in Seattle, Washington for just these issues, especially Morgellons and autism. His name is Dr. Dietrich Klinghardt, and he is an MD and PhD of over 40 years studying these diseases, their effects, and treatments.
Amongst the large group of patients that we treat, is mostly the children. If we get a child from being fully autistic to being fully recovered, that's my greatest joy.
People continue to ask, how do we treat this and what do we do? Well, now you know that there is an expert working right here in America that you can turn to. Do you need to be in Seattle for his help? Absolutely not. You merely need to know where to find him, that is his website, his YouTube, etc. And you know I will be putting his links in the description box below, as I always do. And pay attention to his recommendations for treatment and curing of these diseases. We are not at a loss with no hope of a cure and death in sight as the mainstream physicians would have you believe. They simply don't know how to treat this and cure it. It's time to listen to the real experts that do. I also believe it would be very worthwhile to look into the treatment of grounding, which is something that would be very inexpensive and easy to start right away. And again, I will leave a link for this in the description box where you can watch exactly what to do and how to do it to build kind of a small little Faraday cage for yourself in your own home. So to wrap everything up with a nice little bow, remember there is hope still in humanity, there is hope in the truth, there is hope in the future, and most of all, there is hope always in the Lord, no matter our current struggles and situations. I thank you, Patriots and supporters. Be sure to check out my silver and gold stacking website, join the bandwagon of Anons who are protecting their wealth and their families with tangible, precious metals. Also, please drop by my Patreon and drop a tip in the tip jar at www.patreon.com/LadyLiberty17. Good night, friends, and God bless you all.